Hello everyone, welcome to Red Exploit with me Jay. So we are currently exploring Nessus Essential as part of a scanner series where we are currently blogging in Medium and now we are just trying to make this session more informative and more presentable. So we are recording a video and then we are uploading it in our YouTube channel and then we are embedding that the video frame into the medium blog so that like um, whoever reads the blog like they will have more information about what we are speaking, because having too much of screenshots will always make the readers get exhausted, because it's very hard to follow some procedures when we start explaining in words and screenshots. uh, so if you are new to the blog, so I will always drop my Medium reference URL in the description. You can always go back to the Medium blogs and try to understand like what we have explored as part of the scanner series. So we are in part 5 of our scanner series, where the first part we dealt with understanding the products of Tenable, what is usage and how it can be used in an enterprise, or if you want to explore the capabilities and their purpose. And then we chose Nessus. So we started exploring about Nessus in the second part of our blog, where we just try to understand about like what is Nessus and what it can do, and and about its licensing, the architecture, the deployment, and use cases and everything. So in part 3, we started exploring about the initial phase of the scan. So whenever we have a scanning phase, the first part will be checking the liveliness of the assets, like the scope which you got from your customer, the client, or your whoever the requester is. So the discovery scan is we explored discovery scan in part 3, where we tried setting up the discovery scan and tried to check how many assets are alive and how many assets are unreachable, so that it can be filtered or excluded from the scan, which will save time for the in the scanning process. So on the part 4, we explored about the second part of the scan, which is once we have identified the live host in the network, we need to scan it. So the second part in the part 4 of our blog, we explore about how to set up a network scan. And yesterday, I mean, like on the previous blog, we explored about network scanning and unauthenticated network scanning. So we haven't provided any credentials to the scanner, so it passively, I would not say it's passively checked, but it doesn't have a privilege or authorization or authentication parameters to log into the target and check it. So yesterday was unauthenticated network scan, uh, which we explored in the previous blog. So today we are going to explore about authenticated network scan, like how we can set up an authenticated network scan and how the results are different, from the unauthenticated scan. So from my work experience, and I would say like doing an authenticated scan always yields better results than an unauthenticated scan. Because when you take Tenable plugins, so plugins are divided into two parts, I would say local and remote. So the remote checks are unauthenticated checks, and the local checks are the authenticated checks. So whenever you are configuring the scanner to do a authenticated scan, so Tenable or the Nessus, it tries to log into the target with whatever the credentials or the certificates you provide, and which protocol you choose, like SSH, SMTP, or Windows authentication or something. So it just tries to log in, and it uses the local plugins to scan the assets. So I would say authenticated scans are more reliable, and the false positive ratio is always low, because it authenticates to the target and try to run the checks. So you can always go and search what plugins are available in Tenable Nessus product. In this plugins Tenable page, where you have a search option here, so you can always choose a product here so that you can filter it by Nessus. For example, if I want to check about if there is any test cases related to HTTP, and if I just click enter, so this product we have chosen one in Nessus, so all the plugins related Nessus will be only be displayed here. So you can see there are like 97443 total plugins which has HTTP into it. So this page will be really helpful if you want to search for any plugins. So you can always go to this Tenable page and you can always research about what plugins are available, and if you want to check whether this plugin has been executed as part of the scan, you can always go search here and then check in Tenable. So let's start with setting up the authenticated scan. So as always, so we need to just create the brain for the scan, which is the policy where you define like what you need from the scan. So what needs to be done as part of the scan. So policies, we can just have the name as usual, my first network scan O1, and then we can have it as authenticated here, and then the target is 10.02.4, and then we are going to schedule. It's on demand, so no schedule needed. Notification, I don't need any notification to be sent to my email address. So here, yes, ping the host, and we should always disable it because we have already discussed in the previous blog why we need to disable it, because we don't want to run scans on our own local resource host, because that's waste of time and it will load the Tenable scanner itself. So the ping methods, yes, we always go with ARP, TCP, and ICMP. That's fine. And we don't have any fragile device in our network, then we can skip it. Port scanning, yes, we go with the default range, and we don't check this one because we don't want the Nessus to consider if it couldn't able to reach a port. It should say it couldn't able to reach the port. It should not say like the port is closed, which is still considered as a false positive. So local port enumeration, yeah, SSH, WMI, SNMP, whatever we can. And the network port scanners, we choose always a sync scan mode. Um, because as I mentioned in the previous blog, like establishing a three-way handshake for each to make sure like the port is open will make the scan run for a longer period, which is not advisable. So it's always good to have a sync scan, which is a halfway TCP port scan, which will be little quicker, and the false positive ratio is also less. So if you have any UDP ports to be scanned, yeah, you can use this. I have some UDP ports in the victim mission, so I just enable this UDP now to just scan the UDP ports as well. So service discovery, I'm going not going to change anything because everything looks fine here. And we go to brute force, no brute force. Scan the web application. Yes, we do have some web application, which is the DVWA. If you remember, I have already mentioned in the previous blog, like we just created a script and we made the victim machine vulnerable by running, DB with the default password, and then a DVWA application, and then an SSH server, and we also had DB Maria DB, so that with the default credentials as well. So we just tried to make the victim machine vulnerable. So I know like some of them like Maria DB, they uses the UDP port, so I always have that, and we also have this DVWA, which is a web application. So let's uh, ask this us to execute some of the web related plugins as well. So Windows, yeah, enumeration method, SAM, ADSI, and WMI. Okay, no malware scanning, no database scanning, and report. So here we just missed the major part, which is the credentials, because we are, performing an authenticated scan. So we need credentials to perform this one. So for this, we should set up our credentials in the victim machine so that it will be allowed here. So I would like to show, like, if you're just followed setting up the lessons and the scans with me, I would also like to show you like how to create a SSH user and then perform the scan, so that like you can have a hands-on on how to configure the user from the target perspective, and then you're trying to scan it. So that's why I do have some users already created for the test scans, but still I just want to show how to create a user and then use it for the scan. So now what we do is like, let's go and create a user here. So user add FNM FNS, so, and we can just have it as a Nessus scan user, maybe. No, like this scan user. So we have created it, and then let's change the password for this one. This is scan user. So yeah, we have created a user. And if you have some restriction on your SSH configuration to only allow some users, a particular users, so then you need to change your SSH configuration file, which is on etc SSH and SSH daemon config. So if you go here, you can always add here, you need to just make sure like you have this password authentication which is set to S. So then, well, it will, allow, what to say, like allow you to log in using password. And then you need to check the allow user configuration as well. If you don't have an allow user, you can always add one. So if I just want to allow only the Nessus user to this machine who can just log in using the Nessus, sorry, with the user which we created. So what I can do is like I can always have this like allow users, sorry, allow users, and I can just mention as Nessus scan user. So it will allow SSH only for this user. So it's a kind of an added advantage, or like added security, I would say. So once we made this configuration changes, what we can do is like we can restart the SSH service and try to log in and see whether we could able to log into the system. So what we do is like systemctl restart SSH. It's done. So let's check whether we could able to log in using the user which we created. Localhost. Yes, it seems to work. Hmm. Yeah, as you can see, yes, we could able to log in. That's good. And I don't have any firewall enabled because we have disabled the firewall to make this machine vulnerable. So what we can do is like we can always find whether we have firewall is running. So let's see UFW status here. See, it's inactive, so we don't need to worry about enabling the SSH port for incoming and outgoing. So it will already disabled, and it will allow all the communication from the ports. So we are good from the victim side. So we now have the credentials for the Nessus to log in. And the one thing which we can also do is like giving the Nessus scan user which we created the sudo privilege, so that um, he has more privilege to run the local checks when he logged into the target machine. So this can be done by adding the user to the sudo file. So let's do this. Scan users, sorry, user. We are giving it an all, and no password. Yes, so this is done here, and then yeah, and then we are just let's check whether it's doing good or not. Scan user. Yeah, it's set. So now we have the sudo user privilege for our scan user. So now the privilege is solid now. So in the we have set up all the configuration for the scan, and here we need to set an SSH because we have created the user, and in the SSH, and we authorize the user to log in by SSH. So choose password. If you have any certificate like private key and public key which is generated on the client has shared it with you. So if it is a certificate based authentication, you can choose always the specific option according to your scenario. So mine is like a password based now. So I'm just giving the user here and the password. It's always, I get confused when I just type this password. Elevate privileges with, I would say no elevation needed, and yeah, preferred port is 22, which is already it populates when you choose this SSH option. And you all know plugins, we all have all plugins included. So if you want to exclude some of the plugins based on your scenario when performing the vulnerability scanning, you can always do it by choosing it and then disabling it and enabling it, whatever you want. So now we have created a policy for oh, directly we created a scan now. Sorry, it's my bad. hmm So we have already created a scan directly, but we can always do it by creating a policy here and then add it there. Uh, so it's still possible. So what we can do is like we will start the scan here and wait for a couple of minutes for the scan to get completed, because as this is an authenticated scan, it will try to authenticate and then perform some local checks into it. So yeah. As Nessus Essential is a kind of a free solution from Tenable to just try the Nessus capabilities. I think this GUI is little it's not same like the Nessus Pro or Nessus Essential. So there is a change. You can see it in the GUI. So, but we can always follow the procedure like by creating a policy here and add the policy. You can create a new scan and you always go to user define and choose the policy here. So it will be auto approved, I will auto applied, or you can always choose when there is a new scan here because this doesn't this is not same as Nessus Pro or Nessus Expert. So when you go to Nessus Pro or Nessus Expert, you will not have the scan templates here when you choose the scan option. So when you just choose a scan option, there will be a new scan and then you will fill all the details about the scan, not choosing a template. So always the templates are defined or configured in policies. So whenever you go to the policy, if you click new policy, so this is only be visible in the policy page whenever you go for Nessus Pro and Nessus Expert. But in Nessus Essential, it's like available in both the field. But that's just a GUI change. But you can always remember the procedure we agreed, like create a brain and then execute it. So the brain is the policy. So we create a policy and then create a scan and then link the policy so that the scan use the rules you have already configured in the policy. So let's give it some time, and then we will just try to export the report and see what Nessus has found as part of the authenticated scan. So by the time maybe I can share um, what we have we have explored as part of scanner series. So you can always go to my blog, and then I have a table of contents here. So this is um, this is where you can just go and explore all the available um, content which I just created. So yes, we could see the scan has been completed. So let's go and see like what Nessus has found as part of the authenticated scan. So yeah, we could able to see one high, four medium, one low, and 69 information, which is good. But I will just give you some tricks and tips here to find out, the needed plugins to be checked whenever you just run an authenticated scan. So let's go to this plugin page, and you can search for so scan information maybe. Sorry. So you can always copy this plugin ID, go to this vulnerabilities, filter, plugin ID. So this is the plugin details which will hold the scan information, which we have already seen in our previous video as well. So here you can always see like what is the scan configuration, or like the what version of Nessus, what is the scanner IP, what kind of policy, what is the name of the scan, and then we are, as it is an authenticated scan, we just want to check is if credential check is put to yes. You can see here, and you can see the name and through which protocol we are just trying to, port we are just trying to reach, or like do this authentication. So yeah, we are good from this side. And then we need to do another search on what to say, like whether we need to see if the authentication went good or not. So maybe we can choose for authentication. No, oh sorry, maybe I have misspelled here. Filter product. Maybe this has more. Maybe we can just do another way. It's like we can always go back here. Filter, plugin name, contains uh, authentication. Let's check. Yeah, see, you can see here this plugin details. So if we just go here, it says target credential status by authentication provider protocol. So it says like valid credentials provided. So you can always note this plugin. So whenever you're running an authenticated scan, you can just go and check first the scan information, about to check the configurations you made, if the credentials is enabled, and then you come back checks like if the credentials are had properly worked, like can Nessus able to log in with the credentials you provided. So here it says like Nessus was able to log into the remote host via the following port, and that's a great sign. And here it says there is again a granular notification saying like SSH password is accepted. So now you know the password works, and then the SSH authentication is also worked. So now we clear the filters, and now we go and check what are the vulnerabilities we have. So it says ICMP timestamp request remote date disclosure. Okay, this is a low, and this is mixed. So here, as I mentioned, maybe like this will be very clear when we just compare the previous unauthenticated scan and the authenticated scan results. So we can do it now, but I would like to just export it and then try to compare both the PDF reports. So let's choose the host, report, everything here, and then generate. Yeah, it is generated, and let's also take our previous scan results as well. So where is our first network scan? This is the one. Let's open this as well. So how many vulnerabilities did we have? One critical, high, and 30 info. So let's go back to our authenticated scan. So this is our authenticated scan results. It was open two times, that's fine. So if we go to the vulnerabilities, yeah, so it says like one high. Previously there was like one critical which was identified in an authenticated scan. Okay, and then there is one high here, but yeah, here is as high, but this is a different vulnerability which is tagged as high. And it has four medium, and here the medium is 0 and one low and 64 info. So one low and it is only 30 information vulnerabilities here. So yeah, as you can see, there is quite a difference between unauthenticated and authenticated scan. So authenticated scan is always trustable because we have provided the Nessus with the needed information to provide a valid checks. So here it says critical Apache thing. Here, did it find anything related to Apache? Yeah, so it did some enumerations on the Apache servers, but it haven't built anything critical or high with that one. But here, what is the difference I just want to mention is like here you can able to see many plugins or vulnerabilities related to the kernel or the OS which the target system runs. So because I was just mentioning in the when we just started this video, so Tenable uses local plugins when you use this authenticated scan. So it logins to the machine and uses the local plugins to check. So local plugins include most of the OS related uh, test cases as well, like what OS it's running, and the file integrity checks, and it includes more test cases on the local checks as part of the validating the OS, and more test cases. So that's always good to have here. It just mentioned one high which says like we have some vulnerabilities in the WebKit GTK of this Ubuntu, and it's quite surprising because this is the latest Ubuntu which has been released and available in Ubuntu page. So there should be a patch for this one as well. And there are so many information, which is 60 informations you can see, and it has just covered mostly local checks, all Linux OS, and more OS identification related part, as you can see here. And we also enable the UDP port scan as well, because that is also one of the reason which yielded too many information. It's like doubled, like 30 on the previous network scan and 60 on this network scan, which is authenticated. So because we have enabled UDP port scanning into it. So this is how to set a authenticated scan. And then we have also seen like how to validate the scan once you have successfully completed running the authenticated scan. So hope this video is helpful to you guys. So if you have any questions, or if you need some any improvements, you can always feel free to drop your comments in the YouTube channel, or you can always DM me, or you can always comment on the Medium blog post. So thank you guys, thanks for your time, have a wonderful day. Bye bye.